Well, it's been a year since I covered the first Transformers movie, and I knew for a fact the mudslide was just beyond the horizon, so I took a breather for a bit. Clearly a bit turned into a year. Nonetheless, here we are.
And here we go.
Revenge of the Fallen, where we witness a Transformer humping Megan Fox's leg.
Say my name, say my name.
John Turturro's ass. And racist Autobots.
Really? You see that? We don't really.
The writer's strike, huh? I like the first one. Obviously, aspects of that film don't hold up very well, but despite the quality dropping 1,000,000%, I don't hold on to hating myself rewatching it, mostly for nostalgic reasons. I mean, the 10-year-old me thought the film rivaled Scorsese's entire filmography, but that's the interesting part about getting older.
This fool is terribly misinformed.
You laugh at your younger self for thinking such a thing. Second one was a mess that I considered to be a comedy. Third one is tolerable, with one of the best final battles I've seen. The fourth one was a clusterfuck filled with hateable characters, and a new crew of Autobots which I couldn't give a rat's ass about, but the villain was cool though. And the fifth one, well, a part of me died watching it in theaters. Now with Revenge of the Fallen, a new era of blockbusters was in the making with big set pieces filled with CGI aliens. After the success of Transformers 1, the studio was ready for a sequel, making it into a trilogy, and later making it into a disastrous franchise. During the making of Revenge of the Fallen, the unfortunate happened. Well, let's go over the plot of Transformers 2 and see why a finished script is important, and you should never wing a Transformers film when Bay is at helm.
Okay, don't be sucking the sack, bro. Which said?
Earth.
The film begins with a monologue from Optimus Prime describing the similarities between the two kinds. Now we believe Sam Witwicky's great-great-grandfather was the first man to spot a Transformer. Sector 7 themselves confirmed this.
Your great-great-grandfather made one of the greatest discoveries in the history of mankind.
But the writing seems to have retconned this tale, and even more retcons later, which unsurprisingly is the only consistent trend in this franchise. Apparently the Fallen was also in contact with humans in 17,000 BC, keeping guard of the Sun Harvester and using it to absorb the Sun's energy to make Energon. Flashback to present day, Shanghai is reporting a toxic spill, but that's merely a cover-up after the Nest team, who have aligned themselves with the Autobots, are reporting their 6th Decepticon activity in the last 8 months. The film keeps throwing out the aliens are still a myth, and the government have been covering up the enormous amount of destruction these big giant robots, might I remind you, big giant robots have been causing around the world. I find that very hilarious. The public eye has already seen these guys in action. There was a little tank bulldozing Mission City and transforming in front of thousands of folks. Hard to cover up any potential alien sightings when the main city was filled with them. Optimus, the Nest team, and the new members of the Autobots squad take down Demolisher secretly and tightly. And before Optimus can point-blank execute the poor Decepticon, Demolisher sends a message.
The fallen shall rise again.
Also, there's more to Optimus being a brutal killing machine later in the film, by the way. Now, I don't mind shit as long as it's entertaining, but shit can also be irritating as fuck for someone when you have to witness some things for 5 minutes, in this case Sam's parents.
Oh.
Sam's headed to college and his mom is sad like all mothers are when their son's growing up. But it's more annoying than heartfelt. His dad is excited that he's not staying at his house anymore. You know, it's really tough to like these characters because of their crude nature and the 13-year-old asshole humor Michael Bay loves using, like dogs humping on the couch. Quick question, is this even a Transformers movie? Like seriously, it's a genuine question. Sam talks with Michaela about setting up a webcam chat until he finds a sliver of the cube stuck to his hood. It scans a bunch of symbols into his brain and we get yet another what the fuck moment from this film. Flashback to 2007, he was carrying the entire damn thing throughout the final act of the film. He was dropping it, doing cartwheels and shit, and nothing happened. I mean, Revenge of the Fallen explains that the cube is able to transform.
The cube was merely a vessel. Its knowledge can never be destroyed, only transform.
But how and when? It just never goes in depth on how the cube works besides the minor details. It melts through the floor, but for some reason doesn't melt through the wooden table, and created kitchen bots designed only to attack Sam, who has insane plot armor by the way. Screaming for Bumblebee, who gets immediately dogged on for saving their life pretty much. Also want to point out, whatever happened here can be covered up, because cameras don't work and the neighbors are oblivious to a big giant yellow robot blowing up a house. Sam tells Mikaela to hide the sliver when he's at college, but Mikaela has a Decepticon stalker looking for the MacGuffin and is keeping close tabs on her. Bumblebee has to stay back because colleges, according to Bayhem, freshmen cannot bring a car. Apparently that's a thing. I mean, I could bring a car to my college, and I don't know how it works in America. Like I said, this film feels like ideas are just thrown at a dartboard with no reason at all. Back in this space, Galloway's furious with the handling of Shanghai.
You guys made a mess of Shanghai.
Accusing them of luring the Decepticons to Earth to make a mess. Failing to realize that possibly, maybe, it's because their leader is resting at the bottom of the ocean swimming with the fishies. I don't know, that could be a reason. I'm just saying, I feel like that's the more obvious look on things. Instead of pointing fingers, Mr. Galloway. Anyways, Jackass over here reveals the precise and exact location of both the remaining Shard and Megatron's corpse, which sends an alert to Soundwave, who's hacked the satellite surveillance. Very convenient that the two pieces for Megatron come back are both revealed in a recorded meeting. A satellite recorded meeting, by the way. For some reason, these guys failed to learn from their past experience that these guys are well equipped to hack through technology.
Dumbass!
Back at college, Sam's unpacking. His mom eats a marijuana brownie, because why not? Who does not want to see Sam's mom high as hell? Tackling students minding their own business. I love to see it in my Transformers movie, by the way. A new friend of Sam is introduced, who's a computer nerd and a very horny teenager. Like many people in this film, he invites Sam to his hub of conspiracy geeks who fuel the jet out of any footage of alien activity. Unfortunately, Robo Warrior always beats them to it. Wonder who that is.
One man! Alone!
The Decepticons have gotten all the key pieces to bringing back Megatron because ship military man revealed conveniently the key pieces for the revival process for Megatron. Plus, how bad is the security system around important cargo? And apparently this is supposed to be heavily guarded. This is the most important thing for the government. Hire better security next time, please. Megatron is revived and immediately bitches around Starscream until later on he basically kneels to his master. I find that very funny every time I watch it.
Even in death, there is no command, but my master, I failed you on Earth.
Just want to point out, I actually love his design in this one compared to the last film. Less skeleton, more bulky, he has an ion cannon as well. Megatron learns from the Fallen that only he can be beaten by a Prime, and receiving news that Sam has harnessed the map that leads to the Matrix of Leadership, another MacGuffin, a very long list in this franchise. So Megatron is tasked to kidnapping Sam, which he does, in a very non-death way, by the way. Until Optimus arrives right on time to square off against not one, but 3 Decepticons. With the Autobots falling back a few clicks because they always seem to not be there when Optimus is alone, and vice versa. The forest fight is certainly the highlight of this film. Less of the mumbo-jumbo hunk of metal in your face, much more of a clear visual on who is who. Although Megatron looks much better in this film, he is extremely weak. Optimus just throws him around and shit-talking at the same time.
Weak. Junkyard.
Megatron is not Transformers 1 level of power.
You still fight for the weak. That is why you lose.
I actually feel so bad for Megatron fans after the first film because it all goes downhill. Starting from here, Optimus breaks Starscream's arm and uses as a fucking hammer on the face and rips Grindor's face. Birth of Murder Prime, ladies and gentlemen. But focusing on Sam costs Optimus his life as he gets brutally killed by Megatron. This entire film is now focused mainly on humans. Oh boy. Sam squads up with Leo, Mikaela, and the Ghost Agent Simmons, who's definitely my favorite character in this entire trilogy.
Do not tell my mother.
In terms of the humans, to find the Matrix of Leadership, which is hidden in a doorway created by the original Primes, to sneak into a museum and find Jetfire, who's old and passing time pretty much. He helps the crew on finding the matrix of leadership by offering them hints on possible locations around Egypt. Alright, I'm just gonna buzz through this entire plot. Sam runs around to find the matrix. Matrix turns into pixie dust. Since the matrix is now found but earned, big action set piece, military shots, some more action, explosions, barely any Autobot action. More military shots, Sam runs around more, and some more. Explosions, Megatron kills Sam. Sam has a death vision and enters robot heaven. I have no idea how it's possible for a human to enter such a thing. Sam revives Optimus and goes God mode on Megatron, and the Fallen, well, he gets mutilated.
Give me your faith.
The Autobots save the world. They prove that they're a good bunch until they have to prove themselves again and again and well again. You get the picture. Most of the Bay Transformers films follow a similar pattern. There's a MacGuffin that connects Transformers history with us humans. It's all up to Sam or Cade to find the MacGuffin and save the world. This all leads to an epic final battle deciding Earth's fate, with massive explosions and Optimus showing up at the end to tip the scale. Revenge of the Fallen, unfortunately, despite following a somewhat of a similar pattern as Transformers 1, it fails to keep any level of continuity from the first one. This is 100% because of the unfinished script Michael decided to proceed with into production, and making adjustments along the way through the months of filming. Around November of 2007, the writers went on a strike, similar to what's happening now. Only difference is, now you have actors that are on strike. So many films have been pushed until further notice. Gotta love billion-dollar mega corporations being very greedy. The strike lasted until February 5th, so they had like 2 months before filming started. Michael Bay even stated himself by the time the production was heading into stardom mode, he only had a 14-page reference. After the writer's strike was done, Michael Bay made a very bold decision and locked his writers in a hotel for weeks till they have a completed script before production started. Now, a first draft usually takes a month or so, excluding a revision period, and another draft, wash, rinse, and repeat till the story feels completed and characters feel fleshed out. Not enough time for an actual proper script, and it didn't help that the writers were in a very horrible working condition, like being locked in a fucking hotel room. You also have to pinpoint the preparation the studio, Michael and his team were going through before production started, like the cast, new Autobots, Decepticons, locations. So a lot of shit was made up along the way, you could even tell. And Michael, without a completed script, his directing and tones were very apparent in this film. Now, he doesn't have bad tones, they work in a comedy, but this is a Transformers movie. It just does not work at all. We want to see Transformers, we want to see creative Transformers stories being displayed on the big screen in live action.
Damn, I'm good.
Not what Leo used to do, like selling kitten magazines. So Michael Bay just doubled down on those criticisms from the first film, but pretty much every year he just openly admits that he fucked up. He blames the writing strike for the way Revenge of the Fallen turned out to be. A lot of the cast members do not like Revenge of the Fallen. Shia LaBeouf was very vocal about it in his interviews, but I highly doubt most of that.
Complicated to become shit. And like the second movie was so complicated. You're in Egypt and you're through a wormhole and you're in Cancun and you know where you are. You know.
He also doesn't recommend many studios to ever push forward with the production when you have a 14-page of reference to look on. Now with AI technology along the horizon, that is also hard to believe. The overabundance of characters in this film also reflects on the poor script, mostly due to the lack of payoffs. In my last video, I criticized the first film for having too many characters to keep track of and not having any sort of progression. But it was more of a minor criticism, as for this film, it desperately shoves a lot of characters on screen, and guess what? I don't care for 97% of them. They play a very minimum into the story, yet they have more screen time than, let's say, Ironhide.
What is the meaning of this?
A Transformers movie, by the way. Leo is the comedic character. Now, he's no Agent Simmons where the jokes land most of the time, but he's very infuriating to listen to. I don't mind Sam making new friends, but when they contribute nothing to the plot nor add any progression, whether it's for another character or the story, it's a waste of screen time. Him knowing Robo Warrior was the only part he had in the story, if you can call it one. Glenn from the first film had more of an impact role than Leo, and probably with very little screen time compared to him. You see the problem. Now this isn't a dig at the actor, he's probably a nice guy that you might want a few beers with. However, in terms of the character he plays, oh lord. Not only there's pointless characters, Transformers, there's also character digression, and is very evident in this film. Mikaela had somewhat of a decent character writing in the first one. There were a few misses. You can't hit a home run all the time. But I don't know, with this one, she has no character. She has zero purpose besides training a Transformer to hump her leg. No joke, by the way, it actually happened in this film.
Say my name. Say my name.
She's also there just for Michael Bay to do the pretty shots. You know, he likes to display models on screen for some reason. You can't really stop him from doing that. He just does it because he just wants to. The best way I can put this together is the already unlikable, vulgar character writing for 99% isn't helping the already convoluted mess of a story. The Autobots. What can I say about the Autobots? They're just there. Only 2 of them really have a purpose in this film, and one of them is dead through half of the film. Actually, more than half of the film. While the others serve as a background group for the military, lots and lots of military. This is more of a personal issue with how horrible the Autobots are treated. Too many for so little time. Like, who the fuck is Joel? Dude didn't even speak throughout the entire film. His only highlight was helping Optimus become Air Robo Jesus.
Let's roll.
Bumblebee is Sam's emotional support Transformer. Optimus got the Superman treatment and dies in the second film of this entire trilogy, but no worries, he comes back and kicks ass in the same very film. As well as for the new RC twins, to this day I still can't tell who is who. Sideswipe gets 30 seconds of screen time. 90% of that screen time is him slicing up sideways, which was very cool to watch. And Ironhide is your hothead one-man army.
You dare point a gun at me? You want a piece of me?
It's very disappointing that Transformers are your supporting cast in a Transformers film. Transformers Prime, a show which I highly recommend, is still the best product under this franchise's name. What it did very well was it executed the human and Transformer coexisting very well. The show knew who it was and made you know. The Transformers are the main vocal point, but blending the human narratives in retrospect to the Transformers conflict was very well done. You connected with each human character and you see why some of the human characters linked up with certain Autobots, because they sort of had a connection with their personalities. Now that right there, that's a good example of how to make your Transformers film, if you want to incorporate human characters. In this case, it was a show, but you know what I mean, you can make it into a film and make it work. The last point I want to cover is the lack of a great villain. If a villain kills a hero, that is not enough for a great villain, in my honest opinion. The film throws a fallen name around like it was the school bully that the new kid doesn't know about. Now, I love a good mystery villain, questioning how powerful this new threat is, what's his motives, his appearance. MCU teased Thanos for 20 films and the execution was almost perfect. Like I said, almost perfect. As for the Fallen, the characters see him as the origin unknown, quoting Optimus by the way, who even has no clue on who the fuck that is. Yet Fallen pretty much mentored Megatron into creating the Decepticon name and Legion, and was one of the original Primes. Yep, he has no clue on who the Fallen is. That's pretty surprising. I thought the Primes are well aware. Nonetheless, whenever someone mentions the name Fallen, it sounds a trembling quake of ominous feel around scenes. Yet the problem is the Fallen has already been shown to us, so this mysterious ooh wow, we just don't connect with it. Yet the characters haven't figured it out yet, like we have 2 minutes into the film. We are pretty much watching an exposition fiesta for 10 minutes to an answer we already know. They should have went through an Ozai route and made the Fallen as this big hidden bad. We see his power and impact through the Decepticons like Jetfire, giving their perspective on the Fallen. Avatar did this with Ozai perfectly, gave us a villain with a motive to ruling the world. Now, although we had no clue how this figure that is a threat to all 4 nations looked like, or what's his big plan, his name was just so big because of the amount of pain and torture he's caused on so many like Zuko. Revenge of the Fallen should have went into this idea, giving us a bulletin points of Fallen in the second film, and unleashing him in the third film as the big bad of this trilogy, instead of introducing an entirely new villain and having to set him up and just for you to cap off the trilogy. And given he has lineage with Optimus, it would have created a much more interesting conflict. Hell, through a power struggle between Megatron and the Fallen, his own mentor. That would add so much more layers to the Decepticon faction as a whole. Makes you actually care and want to invest into the Decepticon faction. Obviously, this is just a cookie cutter suggestion that's on top of my head. Scripts usually take a longer time to flesh out their stories, but in my honest opinion, that's a much more clever and better route after the first one than having a villain who's just cowardly waiting for Prime to meet his destiny so he can have his revenge.
Revenge is mine.
I I mean, the dude possesses strong powers, he can fucking teleport, but fails to finish the job when he has the perfect opportunity to do so. You could have just stabbed him, buddy. I mean, no shit, it ends up biting him in the ass as he gets an ass whooping in a 2v1 that's in his favor, by the way. Only to hear Optimus Prime's trash talk as the last words he hears. Honestly, what a great way to develop your villain in your story. After 10 plus minutes of completely ripping this film, I'm gonna hit an Uno reverse card on myself and say I actually still enjoy this film. It's the bad shit that still cracks me to not turn it off or go watch a much more competent film instead. I'll sit through this without hating myself. Is the film bad? Yes. But is it my kind of bad? Yes. Few jokes land, but with the way Hollywood is running things in the spectacle department and cinematography, Revenge of the Fallen still knocks it out of the park with the CGI robots and VFX compared to, let's say, Endgame. But still, the film suffers with bolting its way through the plot without settling rules and building its world. Like, what was this battle? The film just states a great battle took place without furthering the details. There were only 6 primes. Why are there 2 big armies fighting each other? I mean, they all look the same. What are the 2 factions? The film should have focused on that instead of, well, this.
I am directly below the enemy scrotum.
Apparently Transformers have balls. You learn something new every day.
Like repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats.
Racist robots, horny robots, funny they're all Autobots. The leader is asleep for half the film till he comes back.
Die like your brother!
Because of a chip, only this can kill this, so we have to kill the thing that can defeat the thing, so the thing's plan goes through. It's a very unintentional, convoluted story, and a very dumb one for that matter. But after all that, I still have a great time because it's unintentionally funny. I got 3 more of these Bay films I have to cover. Luckily, the next one is far more competent, but it still struggles in areas. But that's it from me, so yeah, see ya.
Beginning, middle, end. Facts, details, condense, plot, tell it.
Oh, the irony.